Listen, children, to my mind. I am a victim. Or Jesus Christ.
Hi, Mike.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. I was on a cruise in Alaska and I stopped in Canada, eh? This is my
I was
Canadian,
super jealous.
my Canadian Leaf shirt, Canada, eh? And I got a buddy named Paul Pouquet. Hey, Paul Pouquet, who lives in Canada, and I took a picture and sent it to him. And he's like, "Fucking hey, bro, you look great in that shirt."
I love that shirt.
Yeah.
Hey, so first things first.
First things first.
I got my new internet. So, are you experiencing any kind of delay in Arizona?
What? Did you say. No, not at all, dude. Like, I'm going to say something and you say back. What comes to mind? Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Black.
White.
Purple.
Black.
Taco.
Burrito.
Hamburger.
Cheeseburger.
Enchilada.
Cow.
So, no, there is no delays. How cool
Lord.
is that?
We fixed it.
Technology, man.
Only took a year.
Technology. It took 47 episodes to get without a delay. What are people going to think when they listen and watch this shit now? Like, holy shit, it's live. It's like Memorex.
We're actually going to be able to communicate normally. So if it ever sounded weird, that's why, because he was waiting 2 seconds and he would start talking and 2 seconds later my idea would come through and then he would have to either stop or I would have to stop, and it was frustrating for both of us, but we made do. So I have fiber optic internet. It is 1 gig down and 1 gig up, and sitting right here I get about 937 down and about 986 up.
I have no idea what that means, but that sounds cool.
It runs at the speed of light. It's fiber optic, right? The optic means that it's just a light beam that's coming in. It's cool as hell. I read up on how it works. It's fascinating.
Right on.
Way above my head, but fascinating what they can do with the internet now. This is as fast as it gets.
Until somebody figures out something.
Well, I could have got up to an 8 gig connection, which is 8 times faster than my 1 gig connection, which is working swimmingly for us. I'm not sure what you would need 8 gigs up and down for unless you're running a server or something out of your house.
Maybe those people that mine for
Bitcoin.
Crypto, yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, good call.
Maybe hackers, they want all the speed to hack in quicker.
I just want to talk to my buddy and find out how Canada was, eh?
Canada was cool, man. What was sucked about Canada, we were only there for 4 hours. And it was at night.
That city looked amazing though, dude.
Yeah, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Was it Vancouver or Victoria?
It wasn't. Yeah. Oh, fuck, what was it?
I think your post said Victoria.
Were we in Vancouver or Victoria? We were in Victoria.
Yeah, it looked beautiful, man.
Yeah, Victoria. I could have swore it was Vancouver. That's for those that know me. No, I don't know shit about geography. My fail. So the voice from beyond, which you didn't hear because she's not on the microphone, was Nikki saying, "No, it was Victoria."
That's what I thought.
It was Victoria. It was really cool. We learned like the Parliament. I think it's the Parliament building. Okay, it was like all water. It was like I forget what they called it, but kind of like a muddy, like a oh fuck, like the Everglades. Maybe like the Everglades. The Everglades is just mush, right?
Sure. Swamp.
There you go, swamp. That was the word. But that's not what they said in Canada. They said something like muddy or something, or mud vein.
Marsh.
Marsh. Maybe it was a marsh. I don't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, in order to build the Parliament building, which is fantastic, I'll throw some pictures up on the Facebook page. They had to dig down so far and bring in 6,400. Some type of pine tree, like some type of giant spruce tree or something, and they drilled them into the ground. Okay, so you have 6,400 Christmas trees, and they They fucking drill them in the ground to make this thing, and then they fill it with dirt and sand and concrete and shit. So this building doesn't sink. Well, the main building has never sunk over how many years it's been there. I think maybe it's moved 2 inches the entire time, which is fantastic, all things considered. And they built these the additions on them, and they didn't listen to the dude who developed it and said, this is what you got to do. And those fucking things started sinking more, so they had to go in and redo that shit. It cost them $45 million just to do it properly, the way he said to do it to begin with, and fix their fuck-ups.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
It is crazy. The dude himself, I forget his name, but he's known for a lot of architecture in that part of Canada, And he actually was like 23, 24 years old when they hired him to do stuff, and he lied on his resume and shit, taking credit for other stuff, but it was too late when they found out. So out of 65 people that were vying for this job, he got it, and then he hired all the 64 runner-ups to, help with the projects and shit. Then he ended up getting murdered by his mistress's boyfriend, I believe is what it was.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an asshole, apparently. Like, just a straight-up asshole. And because
somebody had enough.
Yeah, and I asked the chick that was giving us the tour, like, what happened to him? Why doesn't he have any statues? It's like, well, he's an asshole, And they didn't say asshole because Canadians are so nice.
They are.
But it was. We did a pedicab tour around that city. 2 hours long. Did a little shopping. So here's the shopping spree. I got the shirt, Canada A, right? And unfortunately, it shrunk. Right? I dig it too, and it shrunk. I'm just irritated it shrunk.
Just makes you look more massive.
Right. We got legitimate maple syrup from Canada.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can send you one.
That's good shit.
We got 5 little ones. Yeah.
I would appreciate
we got that. So while we were getting the syrup, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I sent you a picture of this. This blew my mind. It's Canadian Oreos.
There was a lot of people looking at those.
Maple cream, dude. And they're fantastic. It actually tastes like maple syrup. It's like, holy shit. And this shake I made right here, I put an Oreo maple Oreo cookie in it. Bomb diggity.
Delicious.
Nikki got some beaver poop because, life is not complete without eating beaver poop.
That's hilarious.
Right? And then I have a client who moved from Canada, a really nice family. And so I sent her all this stuff. And I sent her a picture of this. This is the Canadian mini biscuits. And she's like, that's my childhood in a box.
Oh, that's awesome.
Figure a little tasty, a little tiny square, a little maple leaf. I'll show you.
Right.
And it tastes like maple. It's just this tiny little maple leaf.
That's cool when you grew up with something and you haven't had it forever and then somebody brings it to you, though. That is so cool.
See? Yeah, there you go.
My childhood in a box.
Yeah. And then we did, we were supposed to do landing on the glacier. We started in Seattle. So we spent a day in Seattle. And then we hopped on the cruise ship, which is the Norwegian Encore, which is a 169,000-ton cruise ship. It's the largest cruise ship in their fleet, which was good. Because when we were 4,000 total people on the boat, 4,000 passengers with 1,759 crew. When we were in open sea, the boat was like just fucking, it was insane. It was terrible. We didn't get sick, but it was not a comfortable day by any way, shape, or form. When you're in bed at night, it was doing this. I still have sea legs. Like both mornings we've gotten up early, like 5 and gone for a walk, and 2-mile walk. By the time I got back, I'm like, I got to go lay down because the sea legs are still there. So you're walking on a path out here, and it's doing this. You get up, go to the bathroom at night, and your mind thinks you're
I'm familiar.
Yeah, it fucking sucks, dude.
I got violently seasick deep sea fishing with my dad. And my dad that's one story he'll sugarcoat in my favor, but
yeah.
Because it was 90 degrees outside and the only spot on the boat was the back of the boat, and that's where the diesel fumes come up constantly.
Oh.
So between the motion you just described to everybody and the diesel fumes and sweating my fucking balls off, I just was like, my mind couldn't comprehend any more torture, Yeah. But I got violently seasick.
Yeah. Luckily we didn't. We had these little wristbands on each wrist.
Okay.
They were supposed to keep the seasickness away, which worked, and then we took Dramamine too. So
I took the Dramamine and it did not work for me. But I don't think they had the bracelet things back then.
Yeah,
this
probably
would have been
not.
in the 80s.
But yeah, and then we saw a lot of people with patches behind their ear, and then I realized that was another form of medication to keep you from getting seasick. So
that makes sense because I've had vertigo, and vertigo is these tiny little crystals surround your eardrum, and if any one of those crystals gets out of alignment, your balance, that's how delicate you staying upright is on this planet.
Oh, no
because
shit.
if you get one little crystal, ask my dad, he suffers from it slightly every day.
That
not
sucks.
to the point where it's debilitating for him.
Yeah,
He can still function, but it's not pleasant at all.
That's a drag.
Oh, yeah. I had it for about a month, maybe.
Oh.
It can last from a day to a month to 6 months to forever.
So just out of nowhere, you woke up and got vertigo?
Yep.
Wow.
Thought I had the flu or something, but I never got sick, and I didn't feel sick. I just couldn't stay upright. I felt like I was drunk all the time. That spinning feeling, when you got all fucked up.
Yeah.
That's what it was constantly, but you weren't having any fun at all. So
yeah, no.
I can understand the behind the ear thing because that's what happens. Your ear, the crystals around your eardrum get out of alignment, and you're fucked.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah, see, learn something every day on this podcast.
Yeah, every single day. I never knew that. So while we were gone, all these people died, man. Right?
I know, it's crazy, right?
It is crazy. So
Chris
and then of course so just in September, I'm not talking October. Just in September, some dude named Chad McQueen, he was somehow related to Steve McQueen. I think it was Steve McQueen's son.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that.
I didn't hear about that one.
James Earl Jones, which legendary James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah.
93 years old he was.
Had a good run.
He had a great run. Tito Jackson, one of the Jackson Five.
Familiar.
And then Maggie Smith. I don't know if you know Maggie Smith, but they call her the Dame actress, Maggie Smith.
Nope.
Chris Christopherson, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Well,
one of the greatest songwriters of all time.
Yeah, see, songwriter, yeah, but I mean, I've never liked him as a performer. That's Maggie Smith. You see her?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, she doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, I don't either. I recognize him, but I don't know from what. Yeah, Chris Christopherson to me I didn't like him as an actor. I didn't like him as a singer.
Oh, I loved him as an actor.
Yeah, he just always came across as phony to me. I don't know why. Everything was the same, but
a lot of that shit was pretty phony back then, though. A lot of that shit doesn't hold up acting wise, for any of them.
This is true.
It was just a slower time. It's weird to go from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and see how movies transformed and TV transformed.
Right.
Some of that stuff you try and watch today and it's just not watchable because the acting is, you can tell it's horribly directed.
Yeah, yeah.
You, Chris, will say, Mike, what would you like to talk about on the podcast today? And I will say, Chris, thanks for asking. That was an excellent question. I would like to talk about underwater basket weaving. So what do you know about that subject? It was just horribly choreographed.
Yeah, it was for sure.
So
and then of course the big topic of discussion that everybody's talking about is Pete Rose, and whether he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame or not.
Of course he does.
Yeah,
he's the big all-time hit leader by a massive margin.
Yeah, I heard an interview of I don't know what the show was, but it was on Sirius. I was driving home. I had a closing the day after we got home, so I had to drive to Tempe. So I was listening to an ESPN channel, and Reggie Jackson called in. Reggie Jackson and Pete Rose are good friends, and so Reggie was talking to this guy about it.
Sure.
And Pete Rose had told Reggie that Pete Rose had more outs than Reggie had hits in comparing their careers. Because
that's probably true.
Because he had that many more at bats than Reggie had. And then Reggie said his response was, Well, yeah, but I can get a run with 1 hit. You get a run with 4. Oh.
Well, what happened? Somehow I lost Chris. Okay. Well, we'll see if he comes back here. I probably should plug my phone in because I think it's dead. So, anyway, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Either computer decided to reboot or I don't know. We were having a nice conversation and he disappeared. He is in Arizona and I'm in Illinois, so sometimes we have technical difficulties. These things happen. The internet's not perfect. Well, mine's as perfect as it gets right now as long as it's on, which it is. It's green, so we'll see what happens here. I don't know where he went. Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, while we're waiting, we will talk about some of the things that I did while Chris was gone, which was to completely rip all the floors out of half of my house and put in some new ones.
I don't know what happened there. Hello.
That's what we were just discussing. Hey, welcome back.
I just, out of nowhere, apparently my internet went out. What's up with that?
I said, as long as my light's green, ladies and gentlemen, I'm screaming fast. Let me check. Yep, it's green.
Yeah. And mine does. And
it's
mine
all good.
Didn't say shit. It just all of a sudden said goodbye.
It's all good, man.
How fitting is that? You get
fucking
fiber optic shit now. I've had no problems at all, and then all of a sudden I get kicked to the curb, and you're still there talking to the world.
Come on, Elon, up your game, brother.
Right? Starlink, my ass. I switched to Cox. I went to the other Starlink, and it didn't either. It just kept spinning. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to Cox, fuckers.
Man, that works.
So I went to Cox.
It's all good.
I know.
Okay, so back to Pete Rose.
Yeah, back to Pete Rose.
Because I like this topic.
I do too, because everybody, there's the only person on my page.
Eventful on your page.
Right, and I would say 97% of the people on my page said yes, he deserves to be in. The few that said
Agreed.
no.
I went and looked after you told me to. I read them all.
The few that said no, like Steve Giannini, who was one of my producer type guys when I was on iHeartRadio, the Real Talk USA with the Real Estate Guy radio show.
Okay.
He was the first guy I met, so he kind of was behind. I don't want to say producer, but he just made sure everything ran smoothly, and he played college ball. I don't remember if he got in the minor leagues or not, but he played college ball, and from what I've understood about some of the things I've listened to, Rose was not respected by his peers at the time, especially that played with him or he managed with, because of what he did. And it all comes back to, if he would have been kind of like Mark McGwire, okay? Mark McGwire took steroids. Sammy Sosa took steroids. Barry Bonds took steroids. There's fucking no denying that. If you look at Barry Bonds the first 5 years of his career, he looks like me.
That's a whole. I know, but I agree with what you're saying. But
right.
Come to find out, during that time, all them fuckers were doing steroids. Even the
absolutely.
pitchers, they became the poster children because they stood out, right?
Right. But
baseball was suffering before that happened.
Correct. But this is where I'm going with this, okay? So, and it's like Roger Clemens, right? Because he was the pitcher, to your point. So you have all these baseball players that you knew they were juicing. You just knew it. There was no way they could deny it. But they lied about it. And because they lied about it, that's tainting their legacy. Right? Those handful of players will never probably get into the Hall because they lied about it. Pete Rose lied about cheating. He lied about betting as a manager. Had he not lied about betting when he asked for it,
that has nothing to do with his playing career, though.
I agree, but I think because of that, that's why
where everybody.
It's the commissioner back then. Was it Bud Selig that did it? That banned him?
Probably. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Because the next ones have carried on his wish. But I think if he would have been honest about it, I don't think he would have been
agree.
banned for life. That's where I was going with that. That's the only thing I was going
agree,
with that.
but I think to me that's apples and oranges because we're talking about he should be in the Hall of Fame as a player. And
Absolutely.
for anybody that's interested, he was betting on his own team to win, which is fucking crazy.
Right.
You have to guarantee that your team's going to win. That's not possible coming from a gambler who is very experienced at sports betting. Trust me, I got close to 10 years experience.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy game. I play probably real close to even most of the time. You know, last year I got lucky, and that's how we got all new floors. I ended up winning a little over $2,000 in 10 months.
Woo!
New floors.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Back to him as a player and a manager.
Yeah.
They should have separated the two.
I agree.
He was
100%.
never. He might have been gambling when he was a player, but he never got caught, and he wasn't accused of that, and he was never convicted. So
Right. So I agree.
They should have separated the two.
They should have, and then one of the comments that I read, which I didn't know this, but the Shoshani Ohtani guy from the Dodgers.
Yes, his interpreter was gambling.
Yeah, $14 million of his dollars. He took.
You're telling me he didn't know? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like bullshit. You fucking knew that he took your money. Now, Nick and I talked about this last night. Not everybody that's making $70 million a year or $7 million a game. It's an insane amount of money he makes.
I think it's $70 million a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Has people handling his money, right? Which is why so many of these athletes and actors and stuff go bankrupt because they don't pay attention. And then, everybody's stealing from them and moving money and shit like that. Kind of like I watched this thing on the plane to Seattle. Gary Coleman's story. Gary Coleman, different structure. What you talking about, Willis?
I've seen that too.
Yeah, he made $18.5 million, which was insane back then. That was a lot of fucking money.
Oh,
right?
You're not kidding. That'd be like maybe $300 million today or something.
Right.
$100 million.
And of all people, his parents, man. His parents were fucking paying themselves pension and shit. And but that's
stripped him of everything.
Yeah, but you have all these people fucking with your money and saying they're doing this good for you, and all these real estate investments went south and shit.
Not in my world, I can guarantee you.
Yeah, so there's that possibility that he didn't see $14 million missing, but I don't think so. So that's the same kind of thing. Should he be punished? And the answer to that question is, if you're going to punish Pete Rose, then you got to punish him. What's the difference?
Agreed. Completely agree.
That's a double standard.
I just think it just pisses me off when somebody becomes a scapegoat who was so good for the game that people that don't like fucking baseball know who Pete Rose is.
Right.
My mom watches baseball when it's exciting and the Cubs are doing good and we're all excited about it. But for the most part, she's a typical woman. She could care less about sports.
Right.
But she likes it that we like it, and she'll get into it. So even she knows enough to know who Pete Rose is, right? If you asked her, he was a great hitter, or great baseball player, even if she didn't know he was a great hitter. People who don't know about baseball know who Pete Rose is, just like people who don't know about music know who Jimi Hendrix is.
Sure.
Somebody who is that great for the game, you become a scapegoat for all the great things you did for one fucking thing you did wrong. Two things. I agree he lied about it. So he gambled when he wasn't supposed to. It was against the rules. He lied about it. Okay, 2 strikes against you. But look at all the good he did for the game and how many people he inspired to play baseball that would have been criminals or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
The stories are endless.
They are. And
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's that whole phrase. He who has not the glass houses throw a stone. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I forget the saying, but
those who live in glass houses should not cast stones.
Right. So
yes.
Yeah. Everybody's got skeletons, man.
Right.
Everybody.
And if I was based on my past and you were based on your past at your worst, we would be crucified forever. And that's not fair because we can't change what happened 10 seconds ago. We can only change what's going to happen now and 10 seconds from now. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
That's it. So I put McGuire and Sosa and Clemens and all those guys who were doing that back then, Bonds. I agree that maybe what they were doing wasn't right, but they chose to do it.
Correct.
And what they did for the game was, people don't remember this. I just had this conversation with a bunch of friends of mine. Baseball was fucking dead, people.
Yep,
Nobody cared.
Nope.
Nobody was going to the game.
Nope.
MLB was going down the toilet and could have gone the way of the dodo bird or whatever the fuck they say.
Oh, yeah. Like, literally, it was that boring to watch. There was no engagement. There was no excitement. Nothing. Absolutely
And all
nothing.
of the sudden, we're going for the home run record, and there's multiple people involved. And once again, after it's all said and done, oh, well, you guys fucked up, and you're going to be the scapegoats. And they literally resurrected baseball. They made me care about it again.
Right.
I wasn't watching it either. Nobody was.
No, baseball is so much better with steroids, man. I mean, I hate to say that, but
it just is.
You know, and then, because once that, once that went away, it went down again, because then it just, you know.
Listen, we can go right back to baseball, but squirrel moment, it's just the same reason that we all listen to 60s and 70s music to this day. No matter what, 60s and 70s music is still going to be timeless forever, because people were experimenting with drugs. It's not cool to say, but it's reality. What happened in the 80s? Well, people were doing a lot of cocaine, and techno took over.
Right, and then
Dance
the hair
music,
metal.
right?
Yeah.
And hair metal, sure. And in the 90s, we were all depressed and back to doing drugs. Unfortunately, it was heroin.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say that opened that was the heroin era, the heroin decade.
And I'm not sure what happened from there, because there is some good music, and I think there's just good music. Now, I don't think drugs have anything to do with it. But the reason that our parents and that generation still listens to their music and can't stand most of ours is it's timeless. There was just an experimentation that happened in the same way there that happened in baseball in the 90s when steroids took over. All of a sudden, the game got exciting again. I don't know why it got boring, but it just did, right?
Yeah, I don't know either. I think they were governed by, I think that was Bud Selig's era still, and I think he was just
bad
old
leadership.
School. Bad leadership, and he didn't want to do TV contracts. Because I remember, you know, they'd have playoff games during the day. You know, people are working. You'd have an afternoon playoff game. I remember having to go home,
right,
and hit record on the VCR before you could program the VCR. Because the Monster was a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. So anytime they were playing in the postseason and they had games on the afternoon, I had to go hit record. So when it came home, they could watch it.
Right.
Like I watched Ozzie Smith. Remember who he is? Hit his only home run. His only home run ever in the postseason, because I happened to be sitting there watching the game as it was recording. And I don't remember if it's a game-winning hit or not, but if you don't know who Ozzie Smith is, he's a skinny little black man that played shortstop. He was called the Wizard because the stuff he did athletically, you didn't do back then. You just didn't do it.
Amazing.
Right. He revolutionized the shortstop position just with his athletic ability alone. And he was one of those guys that he didn't hit home runs. He was an on-base guy, you know.
Just a good hitter.
But he was fast, so he had that speed on the bases and stuff. But legit, he hit his only home run, I believe, in the postseason. And I actually watched it. Those are things that back then it was like, oh, you know, that's cool. Like you see that moment. But
absolutely,
I agree with you. Somewhere it died.
To your point, growing up in this part of the world during that time, we have the legendary Chicago Cubs, right?
Right.
The Cubs didn't play a night game, to Chris's point, until 1989 or something.
Right.
It was late 80s, so you're right. If the Cubs ever made the postseason, which was very rare, but if they did, they always played in the afternoon, and you're right. I think that the way that the structure was not conducive for people to be able to watch baseball.
Right, and football was the same thing.
Everybody was at work.
Yeah, and people forget about football. Football had a couple strikes. They had a scrub year, if you remember that, when all the football players, you know, walked away, and then they had scrub players come in, and you know, all the stories you hear about how the true athletes would just ridiculed the scrubs because they were just like, well, this is our opportunity to have a shot. But the NFL wasn't perfect either. And, you know, I don't think did baseball ever strike?
Yeah, I'm sure there was baseball strikes. You could Google it. I remember the football strike. Yeah. And one thing that people don't know that I didn't know till I watched that Vice thing, The Dark Side of Football, there was no players union back then. So if you didn't play, you didn't get paid. Jim McMahon made that very clear. He said that's why guys shot themselves up with all kinds of painkillers, because if you were going to stand on the sideline, there was no injured reserve.
Right. Oh, fuck that.
He laughed that off, you know. He's like, injured reserve, man, you didn't get paid for the game. That was in your contract.
So I think this is what killed baseball, which is why the steroids came back, because the baseball league, the MLB strike was 94 to 95. And I think after that is when the steroid era began, because they had to bring people back into the steroid era. Oh, steroid era baseball. When did it begin?
And that would make sense, because that's the year after I moved to Arizona.
94 to 2004, dude. So they fucking told the players, we're going to turn a blind eye. This is speculation, boys and girls. Sure. We're going to turn a blind eye for the next 10 years because we need to bring baseball back to where it was. So they took it after the strike, a strike for 232 days.
All coming back to me now.
Right. Then the steroid era, the pre-steroid era was 85 to 93. Then they went on strike from 93 to 94, and then the era of steroids is 94 to 2004.
That's why that rings a bell, because that's the year I moved out there, was 93.
Yep. And the first ones that come when you click what baseball player was caught using steroids: Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Rafael Palmeiro.
I forgot about Rafael Palmeiro.
I didn't, because when I saw him, I'm like, dude, you're fucking skinny as hell. Why are you even doing roids, man? Like, you're doing him. Gonzo. It's rumored that Gonzo, the great Arizona Diamondback who hit the game-winning hit in the World Series when they beat. Yeah, it's rumored that he used roids. Whether he was never caught, but it was rumored. and back then, if you were rumored, it was pretty substantial that you probably were. It's just a matter of whether you're going to get caught or not.
Right.
Oh, and then they also used HGH was the big part of it, was HGH. The prohibited substances under the policy, the players are prohibited from using processing, selling, facilitating the sale of, or distributing or facilitating of distribution of any drug of abuse, human growth hormone, and steroid. So that's what that was, and that's why that. Oh, and then of course Jose Canseco, when him and McGuire are on the Oakland A's, that's a big.
Yeah, so that's my point to the people who are listening. I'm not a proponent of somebody breaking the rules, but what I am really critical of is when you gaslight somebody. You know, to Chris's point, it was pretty much the people's. Nice fucking English, dickhead. The people in charge at the time of the MLB, supposedly, and we know almost positively, allegedly, so I don't get sued.
Right. It's speculation. We're just
told those guys, you do what you need to do. We're not testing for that. We're going to do drug tests, but we won't test for that. Wink, wink. You know,
right.
We've all been in those situations. We're not doing that. But
yep.
Then 10 years later, to use them as scapegoats after they serve their purpose for you is not okay with me and not cool on any level.
Well, I agree with that.
Fuck you. You know,
I agree with that. Yep.
And I understand why they were upset and pissed off, and because they know the side of it that nobody will ever know. Apparently, there's probably non-disclosure agreements and all kinds of bullshit. But
absolutely,
you know what I'm saying?
But that I mean that totally falls in line with the dates. That's why they did it, because they had to rebuild the audience with baseball, and it worked. Now the NFL
swimmingly.
The NFL has had strikes they had an 8-week strike in '82. They had a 1-month strike in '87. In 2011, you remember this one, the NFL referee lockout, the 2-week lockout, and it was just horrendous calls during those 2 weeks. And then,
now.
Yeah, and then in 2011, there was a 5-month lockout prior to the 2011 NFL season. I think Doug Flutie
the players
actually was
or the referee.
The players had a 2011 5-month lockout prior to the season, so it was off season.
How do I know?
Because it was off season, because it wasn't affecting the games.
Oh, okay.
They were probably doing some contract disputes and shit. You know, I don't want to do preseason football. I don't want to get hit every day. No more 2 days. because I got to protect my body because, I don't want to get hit. I want to be a broadcaster afterward and get into movies.
I want my face to still look this good.
And how many of them get hurt now and can't sustain the entire season because they're not getting punished in preseason like they used to be?
I'll tell you what, man. The more I listen to podcasts with actual neurosurgeons and people, doctors that know what the fuck they're talking about,
right?
And just one head trauma or two head traumas,
right,
or three, can be debilitating on down the line, if not right at that moment, right? Your brain is not meant to be shook around in its fucking cap or whatever your skull.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It
isn't.
Yeah,
it scares the shit out of me the more I hear those things. Exactly.
Yeah, the fifth one, and he's still fucking playing. He didn't retire. He's on injured reserve. It's like, dude, cut your losses. He's going to be one of those, like he's going to be a junior Seau. And Aaron Hernandez, they now have speculation that he had some serious trauma in the brain. I forget what they call it, but he's going to
TBI,
Tua's going to be one of those
traumatic
numbers.
Brain injury.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those numbers because you can't. When Jake was playing football, he had one. And I've had
several.
He had one when he's young, and like it was so bad that we were leaving the field. I was taking him to the doctor, and he's like, "Hey, did you see me hit my home run, Dad?" I'm like, "Holy shit, dude, you were 8 then." And we were, as a coach, we were talking. We preached to him, heads up football. You got to see what you tackle, heads up, heads up, heads up. And it's just one of those things where he was tackling a kid, and he put his head down, and they just boom, and that rattled his cage. Right, he got another one in high school, which it's debatable whether he agrees to it or not, but. Because we told him, you get another one, you're done. Like, you're just done. Your life is more important than football. It's just, it is what it is.
I don't know how old I was. I was less than 10. And one of my, let me use air quotes, fucking friends.
Oh, confetti.
Rains confetti when I do that. That wasn't supposed to happen. Anyway, we're standing out back of his aunt's yard. So we're on the patio. They had a basketball hoop there, and she's in there doing the dishes, and he's swinging this baseball bat around. And me and his cousin and I. I'm bad about being proper with English. Anyway,
it's okay.
His cousin and I were standing there talking, and she yelled out the window, summertime, "Hey, don't be swinging that bat so close to those kids."
Sure.
And instead of getting further away, the dumb fuck gets closer and swings it as hard as he can and hit me right on the side of the head and knocked me out cold.
Ouch.
So then the second time was in the first car accident I got. My head hit the frame of the door. And I never got diagnosed with it, but looking back on it, fuck yeah, I had a concussion. I didn't even know where I was. And then I got in that accident in 98 in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's where I got rear-ended by an asphalt truck. Same thing happened. I hit the frame of the door with my head and busted a piece of my fucking skull. So I know I had a concussion during that one.
See,
it just scares me, man. I've literally listened to like hundreds of hours of different doctors saying,
"Sure,
you're not supposed to get hit in the head,"
Right. Which is why boxers are boxers. Which, I mean, Parkinson's with Ali,
they're a classic example.
Right, Ali. They said all of the hits he took to his head led to him getting Parkinson's disease.
I believe it wholeheartedly.
I had one, and it was. I was at a I was at a Bible camp up in northern Arizona, and it was summer. It was winter. It was when there's snow, and this dude I knew, Todd Rupp, he made this snowball, right, and it had ice in it, which I don't know if he maliciously did it or not, but it was a snowball with ice in it. And he whipped it, and it smacked me in the back of the head. And I remember when it hit me in the back of the head, it was just kind of like that ringing of the ears. And then when right.
Will
and then when
absolutely give you a concussion.
Right. And then I woke up in the morning and there was blood on the pillowcase. And I was like, what the fuck? And then, I had dried blood on the back of my head. So he drew blood and it just.
So and I've been growing up in this part of the country, I can tell you that snowball fights were cool.
Yeah.
Amongst actual friends.
Right.
If somebody threw a fucking ice ball at you, you'd be like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Not cool,
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying.
That'll absolutely knock you out.
Yeah. And I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but, I never really knew the guy, but, and I've never been the same since, man. I should have been 6'2", and I'm not even 6 feet now,
It made you the lovable, adorable person that you are today, Chris.
It's like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? You know, so there's that. So yeah, that was a good squirrel conversation. Squirrel.
Oh no, I like the whole Pete Rose thing, man.
I do too, and it'll be interesting. The other conversation that was had too is, well, it was a lifetime ban. Well, he's dead now. He's dead.
Right.
So
where's the argument now?
Right. Where's the argument? And then somebody's like, well, Joe Jackson. Remember Joe Jackson, shoeless Joe Jackson? He tanked the World Series for the White Sox.
Complete. Yes, I read that one too.
Yeah, but see the difference with that, like to your point earlier, Pete Rose bet on his team to win. He didn't bet on his team
He had to
lose.
guarantee a win.
Right. He wasn't shaving points. There was a ASU college basketball player that was shaving points. I forget who he was, but I remember watching one of those Vice documentaries on him that he actually was shaving points. There was an
NBA ref that was convicted. I think he ended up committing suicide, if I remember right.
Yes, I remember that too.
Yeah, that's why I don't bet on the NBA, because I know it's fixed. Guy got convicted of it. You think they quit?
No.
Try betting on the NBA for a while, and after you get fucked enough, you'll be like, it's got to be fixed, because a team can be down by 23 points with 1 minute and 23 seconds left, and they win by 12. You know?
Right. Yeah. I know. Some of that stuff I call bullshit on too. It's like, how's that possible?
It just is. Because if you bet on college basketball, which I also do, it's a completely different game because it's not fixed yet.
Well, no, it was. The one I was talking about was a college basketball player. He played for ASU, and he was shaving. He was point shaving. Like legit. I forget it. It was one of those Vice things, but legit. He was straight up shaving points.
So, to that point, that is why in the state of Illinois, you cannot bet on an Illinois college team within the state of Illinois.
Oh,
there's several states like that. We can bet on everything else, but we cannot bet on our own college teams, whether they're on the road or at home.
Really?
And it's mainly for that reason. They claim it's to protect the players, from having a roommate who says, hey, I got $10,000 on the game, you better not score a touchdown because I got you to not score a touchdown, or you better not gain more than 60 yards, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what they claim it is, but I think it's more for what you're talking about. Those politicians know that there's a case history of somebody doing that.
Yeah. Interesting, man.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. That's interesting.
No, I didn't know the story you told about that college player doing that.
My interesting thing was, it was interesting that you can't bet on Illinois teams being in Illinois. That to me is interesting.
We cannot. Now, you go up to Michigan, they can bet on anybody.
Huh.
You go up to West Virginia, they can bet on anybody. I can't remember the states it is, but there's several states like us. I thought we were just the asshole, so I looked it up. There's times I'd like to bet on the University of Illinois or Northwestern, or
Yeah, that's interesting.
Should be my right as an American.
America, Canada, eh? Canada. I have to go. I have to go to the washroom. I'll be right back.
I'm going to give a diatribe. We're going to learn about how I should be able to do, and you as an American should be able to do whatever the hell you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. If I want to gamble on University of Illinois while they're playing Nebraska, I should be able to do that. Just like, if you want to do whatever, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That's as simple as life needs to be. I'm not hurting anybody else. I can do whatever I want, and you can too. You can't tell me what to do. I can't tell you what to do. Life should be that simple. We're adults, Just be civil. There's no reason not to be nice to people. So that's my speech. Anyway, in the first interruption, I started to tell you about my flooring project. You can see Chris's floor in the background. If you have not seen the Facebook page, you can go to the Chris and Mike Show on Facebook, and you can see the pictures of my floor, but it looks very similar to his, just a different color. And I have not put my trim back up, so I'm trying to hide that fact. No, I'm just kidding. I really don't care. The floor looks awesome, and we got one more little project to do, and then we'll put the trim back up and paint and put some lighting in here. The lighting will be different. I know it's the lava lamps back in the background. I told you it was going to be gone, but I don't have my new desk yet. We're actually going to have a brand new studio desk that one of my friends is custom making for me. I'm super excited about getting it. It's going to match the floor really cool, and then we'll have a different perspective. So hopefully we'll be able to show off the work that he did. I'm going to get a new camera so we can see the whole room, because at some point we're going to have guests and multiple people on here at the same time, and if they're in the room with me, I want to be able to show everybody. So those are two things that are coming for sure. We definitely have confirmed guests. They've just been waiting to be able to stay on the same line as me. And as you can tell, my internet is holding up just fine. So I'm super happy with all the work that the people at Pavlov Media did after I had to crucify them online and I took down the post. So that's what you should do, people. If somebody does the right thing, don't leave that post up there. That's not cool. But it did take that. I had to go out to Google and basically say, you said you were going to do one thing and you didn't do that. And kudos to the two guys that I got on the phone who got the people out here who needed to do what they needed to do. This is not a easy project by any stretch of the imagination. We didn't have any kind of infrastructure for fiber optics, so this company literally came into our town and tore everything up as far as, you know, having to dig all the lines, and all this stuff is underground. I haven't read into it that far. I'm not quite sure why fiber optic has to be buried, but if you live where I live, you're kind of happy it is underground, because we have horrible winters and bad storms and stuff like that. So the more I thought about it, it's actually smart, because the weather will not affect my internet at all. Everything's buried. Wherever it came from, they burrowed into town, for lack of a better term, and then they branched out all over the place and sent us all postcards and said, hey, check out our super fast internet. And it is super fast. Like I said, I actually have a faster upload speed than I do download speed. So for you nerds out there who like fast internet or just technology in general, this stuff is amazing. Your upload's faster than your download. It's crazy.
That'll teach me to drink a protein shake at the beginning of the show.
Well,
so I ripped off.
I started to talk about how I was, putting new floors in, and then I had a squirrel moment of my own. And
they're done. So I pulled the tag off my shirt. So I'm going to find them online and get a larger one and let it shrink to the normal size.
Hey, that's a stellar idea. I like it.
It's a great idea, eh? So we should go back to the cruise, because you've never been on a cruise, right?
I have never been on a cruise.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
So the fun thing about a cruise is they have things to do, right? Like one night we saw this show called The Choir of Men. I would Google it. It's music of today, right? And the way they do it is like they're in a bar. So the entire Choir of Men stage is a bar. You're looking at a bar. So it's all the things that happen over someone's lifespan who works and goes to the neighborhood pub, right? So they were watching a sports game.
Like their entire life?
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Like watching a sporting event, and the ups and downs and the love and hate of that. Relationship stuff, that kind of thing, and breakups and getting together and trying to find love, and so anything you can think of that happens in a bar essentially is there on the stage, aside from the behind the scenes sexual escapades and all that kind of fun stuff that happens behind the scenes, right?
Right.
Because we all know, right?
Absolutely. We've seen, been there, done now.
So then they do kind of, they try to be cool, but they're not cool. Like you play Wheel of Fortune, you got to buy the app on your phone and entry fees and stuff, and then you get called up, but you're on the stage. So it's kind of cheesy, but it's fun. We didn't buy into the app, so we did bingo, which it passed an hour. That was on the sea day where the oceans just sucked, so we had to do something that would get our mind off of it.
Oh yeah.
But there's bingo every day. There's Wheel of Fortune every day. There's Deal or No Deal every day. At night they have there's 4 or 5 different bands that play on the ship throughout the different restaurants and bars and shit. I played a trivia game one night. We were I forget what it was, but it was game trivia one night, and they kept pulling these names out of the bucket, and the person they were calling wasn't there. So then lady's like, who wants to play? So I raised my hand, and so she picked me. So I went up there and kicked some ass, like legit. I ran.
I saw that post too. That was awesome.
I ran the board, man. It was like 5,200 points. The game before me, I think their high score was like 2,400. So that was kind of fun. And it's all about hitting the buzzer, man. I got great buzzer reflexes and the one category that I completely dominated was slogans, right? Just TV slogans. So the first one is I'm loving it. Boom, McDonald's. We have the meats. Arby's. Just shit like that. Finger looking good. Kentucky Fried Chicken.
KFC.
So it was more just because I was quick reacting than anything else.
Yeah, but your mind has to work that quick too. So
this is true. So I got a shirt.
You got to know the answer and hit the reflexes. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So I got a shirt that says my best life is cruise life, which whatever.
That was your prize?
That was my prize.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it's better than nothing.
You're gonna love this story. So
okay,
I don't remember what day it is, but Nick ended up it's like the center of the ship, and then you have 2 levels of an atrium, so you can sit up around the top of the bowl, and look down and watch.
That's cool.
So we were watching this trivia thing, like where am I around the world or something, or where in the world am I? So she went down to find seats closer to the actual thing because we didn't want to sit up there the whole time. So she found this spot that was side staged, and we watched that. I forget what that show was, but we watched that show. And then this family of 5 got up and left, so I jumped us over to the front of the stage. So, stayed literally. My feet are on the stage. That's where we're sitting, right?
Okay.
It was Music Mania. It was a trivia show. Okay.
Oh shit! Awesome.
Right. You can tell where this is going. So I Nikki goes to the bathroom, so I write down on the form Chris and Nikki because it's like, family name. So I'm the first person that drops it in the bucket. Probably about 20, 30 people drop shit in the bucket. First fucking name they draw is Chris and Nikki. And she looks at me, and you can just see in her face, she's like, what the fuck did you do? So we go up there. There's 3 other families that called up. I don't remember the first category. The first round, we were 4 out of 5. Second round, we had to do, what was it, Sweet Caroline, right? So you put a mic in my hand, you know what's going to happen. So, legit, I got rid of the mic stand.
Can't even imagine.
I turned towards the crowd. I was playing with Nikki. At one point in time, I dipped her and kissed her, had the crowd going, swinging along and shit. So we had, at the end of 2 rounds, we and this other family were the winners. And Nikki and I were in the lead. Like, even the other team said, like, oh, shit, we got to battle you guys. The final scenario was you had to pick a song out of 10 songs, okay, that were listed.
All right.
The creative aspect of it was you catch the melody with the music behind you. So it's karaoke, but it's karaoke with the artists. So you're singing along. Like, you're driving in your car, you're singing along to the song. Follow me?
Yep.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Then they cut the music. Once they cut the music, you have to continue the melody.
Okay.
Okay.
There was a game show like this at one time. Yeah.
Oh, right on. So,
yeah.
Looking on the board, Bryan Adams, Summer of '69. Got this.
Perfect.
So, obviously, Nikki wasn't going to sing. She was already out of her element being in front of, I don't know, maybe 100, 200 people.
Understandable for somebody who doesn't like that and never did
right,
it.
But she had a blast because it was my
That's
element,
awesome.
and she was in my element, and I was, and she did awesome because some of the trivia stuff she was good at. We had to do this dance thing. I didn't know the dance move, but she did. So then we did the dance thing. The reason we lost was because in the dance contest, the dude did a worm.
Oh shit!
That was the only reason why. And even when they said they won, they all came to us like, "You guys won." I don't know how the fuck we got that. So
they
Summer
gave
of '69.
him the worm.
Yeah, they gave him the worm. So Summer of '69. What was it? It was some kind of dance where the worm was in it. I don't remember what it was.
All right.
But so Summer of '69. I put the mic stand behind me and was basically playing to the crowd and singing the song, and the music stopped, and I didn't stop, and had singing back and shit. So it was fun. It was a good time. And then they
That's
had
awesome.
then they had the not so newlywed game. We stood up for that, but she refused to be part of it, so we sat back down. Because then you had to dance with your spouse, and she's like, "Oh no." I'm like, "All right," so we sat back down. That was fun. Like one of the couples, because they always ask the whoopee question, right? Like, where's the most interesting place you had whoopee? So this couple did it in the back of a Subway. She was an employee. He was the boss. She was manning the drive-through. And during the session, she had to, thank you for coming to Subway. I'll be right with you. While engaged in the back of a Subway.
Oh.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So one was in a hotel swimming pool along the interstate with truckers driving by honking their horns. So obviously everything was visible to an extent. I'm maybe thinking she was
mine gets
riding.
weirder the fucking more I think about it. That's terrible. It was pretty mild. It was actually probably not mild for somebody who's never done as crazy a shit as I have. I was going to say in the back of my car behind the girl's parents' house while they were home.
Yeah.
But it got worse. Like in a parking lot in a public place.
Okay.
In a bathroom. In a
did it
business.
Yeah, I've never done it in a bathroom.
Plenty of times in a bathroom.
Uh-oh.
I've always been a single guy, Chris. You just did it where you did it.
Right, exactly.
In Marty's apartment while he was home, actually while he was jamming out across the living room.
No, that's not. But that's just like having a roommate. You know what I mean?
But I didn't live with him. Marty lived upstairs in that apartment,
Oh,
he just kind of worked on the road crew, that Marty. He didn't
I know who
live
you're
with
talking
me.
about. Yeah, he used to come and take my mic stand out in front of me and put it back at the stage so I wouldn't run into it and bring it back out and all that kind of shit. So yeah, I remember Marty.
That was the one night. Actually, I had 2 one-night stands. I forgot about the girl in college, but that was the one I think I already talked about on the podcast where she really... I probably never talked about that one. Anyway, I'll talk about it someday. She really wanted to come home, and somehow we ended up at Marty's house. But see, it gets weirder as I think about it.
Yeah.
In the business was the weirdest one.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you that story privately, but that's not a podcast story by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah,
not one I want to share publicly.
Yeah, and I'm not going to divulge our, because I'm just not going to, because my children listen to the show.
I've always been a single guy, so there's a lot of shit I'll talk about. Just ask me the question.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I don't blame you a bit.
Yeah. So the other cool thing about this cruise ship, like they had 2 swimming pools. Sea Day, we actually took pictures and video of it where you had this weird gap. Like here's the top of the water, and for those of you who can't see me right now, figure there's like a 1.5 foot gap from the cool deck to the water, which that's really weird. And then there's like rails inside of it. That's because on Sea Day, that shit was like fucking splashing to the extent that you were surprised it wasn't leaving the pool area. That's how.
Oh, they had the math figured out pretty well.
Oh, fucking insane. They had a go-kart track on the top of the boat, which wasn't running because it was cold and wet for the most part. They had these water slides that went outside of the boat's parameter and came back in, like super water slides.
That's cool.
The water was running the whole time, but nobody was in it, obviously for safety reasons. They had 2 hot tubs on both sides, upper decks, which we didn't touch because it was fucking cold. People actually were in the pool, and it wasn't a heated pool because Nikki checked it during...
It wasn't heated?
No. It's heated by the solar, which means it's on top of the ship, and the sun bakes it. And it wasn't
that's
warm
not
enough.
heated.
No. They had this observation deck, which was really cool, to where you have this whole floor, the edge of the boat, it's the front of the boat, floor-to-ceiling windows, and all these nice, comfortable pieces of furniture you can basically just observe and watch things go by. So Glacier Bay, the day we were in Glacier Bay, it basically did a U-turn in Glacier Bay. So if you're on the right side of the boat, you see all the glaciers, and then you're on the left side of the boat, you see all the glaciers again, depending on where it's turning. So everybody can see everything.
That's awesome.
The comedy of that part is people were such selfish boneheads, not all of them, but some of them, that they crashed out there at night to secure their spot. So in the morning, they had a spot to watch the glaciers.
You have got to be kidding me.
Nope. And when Nikki booked all this, because Nikki did all this.
I'm not that dedicated for anything.
No. Right? So Nikki set us up with a balcony. We're on the 15th floor. We had a balcony. So we were on the balcony for most of Glacier Day. And then every now and then we'd go to the front of the ship to look at
stuff.
I
liked your little balcony. That was cool.
Yeah. She was great in how she set this up, because we didn't want for anything. The buffets, like every day, you could go to this buffet and everything from burgers and pasta and just chicken and fish and
How do
breakfast.
they treat like allergy people? I have a severe food allergy.
Right. I had to search for. I didn't have coffee at all. I had coffee the first 2 days and it was just black with sugar and honey.
Ugh.
And Nikki's like, there's got to be almond
I
milk
like it with
somewhere.
honey.
Right. So she ended up finding a station where she asked somebody and they gave her some almond milk. So then I learned, okay, find the cereal boxes and go get almond milk every morning. And the downside of that is I went to the same station every morning where Nikki got it. Oh, I don't have it today. It's over there. Oh, I don't have it. And I'd go over there. Oh, it's not here. It's there. So it's like, my feedback was you need to have a better spot for people that don't do dairy. There's enough for me to eat with not dairy. And all the restaurants, you tell them, like, hey, I don't do dairy. And so then it's tagged to your name. So they know whenever you sit down and they recognize the name, they ask what's your allergy. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, there's a huge population of the staff is Filipino, which Nikki learned that the reason why they use the Filipino people is because they're brought up in the culture to nurture and care for others. So
okay,
they're always happy. They're always smiling. There's this weird thing they do in the mornings when you're going into the buffet, washy, happy, and they squirt your hands and, kind of like COVID thing. But they're singing the song, washy, happy. I videoed it when we were leaving. So, we'd come back from being on shore and like in Skagway, that was the place where we couldn't get on the helicopter to the glacier because the weather wouldn't permit it, which was a drag. But we spent the day walking around Skagway and going in all the shops, and I found the smallest liquor store in the biggest state. I did a video.
That
on
was
that.
awesome.
Yeah,
I love that post.
She was funny.
My mom said to tell you she loved that post too.
Right on. Yeah, cool. Tell her I said thank you. And the lady was super cool too. I'm like, I'm gonna go back out and I'm gonna film this. She's like, oh, okay. And she was on point. I didn't tell her to do anything. She just did it, which was cool.
That's awesome.
There was a building, a really old building that said AB, so I equated it to it's the Alter Bridge building. And the funny thing is, this is the funny shit, man. I posted on Alter Bridge page, I'm on Facebook, and about 5 comments down, a dude posted the same fucking picture. I was just there 2 weeks ago. What the fuck?
That's crazy.
I found a
big world, man.
I found a cigar store Indian, right? Okay.
Seinfeld cigar store
right,
Indian.
Right. So
yeah.
I stand in front of it, do this. Nikki takes a picture of it. I put it on the Seinfeld Fanatics page. And everybody's, they think they're being assholes, but they're not because it's funny. They're like, they're acting like I'm George Costanza. Oh, all his hair is gone. Shit, right, that, right? So get this. Seinfeld is one of the most, Seinfeld in The Office, right, would not survive today if they dropped, right? If they put right, because all the fucking people were like, holy shit, you can't say that, okay? The Seinfeld page actually took down the post because of the ribbing I was getting. And every time I was ribbed, I ha-ha'd it. And I commented on it because it was the funniest shit. Right? How fucking...
Yeah, bring it on, man.
How fucking pathetic.
You can't hurt us.
You're Seinfeld. But it's a Seinfeld page. The whole page is dedicated to Seinfeld and all his... the show, not the comedian, because I don't find Jerry that funny at all.
Agreed. On both accounts.
The show itself was brilliant because of the supporting cast.
Legendary.
Right.
Yes. And Larry David.
Right. Without Larry David in the cast, that shows nothing. It doesn't go on past the pilot because the pilot they played on the show itself was probably just as bad as the pilot that actually aired on TV.
I've seen it, yeah.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
The one that was on TV wasn't that great.
Right. They fucking took it down because I was getting berated by the other Seinfeld people because they were comparing me to George.
Shouldn't it be for you to report somebody if you're being berated?
You would think.
Please.
I know.
Don't come to my defense, people. I got this. I'm perfectly capable of not getting my feelings hurt.
Right.
And crying in my fucking spilled milk. I'm a big boy. I can take it.
Right,
Don't make fun of somebody I love or, attack them or whatever. You can do whatever you want to me. I don't give a fuck. Just like you don't give a fuck.
No, but that's the thing.
They're just words, man.
Right. I was laughing at the comments and I was commenting on them. So
right.
the ones that warranted a response, I was responding, and then the one that posted dude posted the same picture, like 15 comments down, And then we had a 4 or 5 communication back and forth because it was funny. We were both at the same spot, weeks apart, and how, we both thought the same fucking thing, And then from that episode, you have all the nonsense they were doing, like me smoking pea pipe, and Wiona's going to be mad. Like they were
just making horribly, open mouth insert foot moments.
Right,
Yeah,
but a lot of it was pulled from the actual episode itself because there's the kitschy cigar store Indian that Kramer's driving down the street with, hanging out the taxi cab. Everybody was playing off that. Everybody. And the fucking admin 2 days later fucking took that shit down. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, seriously.
It's one thing to completely make fun of, and it's another thing to tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
I look at that as tongue-in-cheek, and I think any reasonable
human being,
Native American, would look at that as tongue-in-cheek. I'm not going to speak for them because I've never been in their shoes, but if you're a reasonable human being, I don't look at people as color, just like I don't listen to music as genres.
Right.
You're either cool to me or you're an asshole. I put you in 2 categories. I've simplified life down to 2 categories. You're an asshole,
right,
or you're cool to me, and then there's a special group of people that I call my friends, which are truly my friends and make me a better person.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So if you have a brain in your head, you look at that and it's meant to be funny. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Kramer's a ridiculous character. He's not everyday Joe,
Nope.
He's just a ridiculous human being who lives a crazy fucking life.
Right.
And he would be the guy to do something outside the box like that.
Yes.
You have to have a brain in your head, I guess, to get the humor.
Yeah, but the thing that bothered me the most, I didn't lose sleep over it, obviously, but just when I saw that it's a page, it's Seinfeld fanatics. It's a Seinfeld
fucking life.
It's a Seinfeld fanatic fan page. Every
Get
post,
a fucking life.
Right. Every single post on there, people are berating people because it's kind of like the Office page I'm part of. People put their picture up on their birthday, roast me, and then you'll see 400 comments of just getting destroyed. Why? Because it's a page dedicated to that nonsense. So the Seinfeld page is a total oxymoron because they don't allow it because they took it down. And I didn't. All I said my caption was Kramer would be proud. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it. And
that was a hilarious episode.
It was.
And not because they were making fun of Native Americans,
No.
because it was just a funny fucking episode.
Because it's things you don't talk about. Those are the brilliance of Larry David. You don't talk about that shit. He talked about it in a funny way that was what was for the most part non-threatening and non-demeaning because when you grew up Indian giver, that was a standard phrase.
Absolutely.
Right? It's so he pulled that
I never
shit.
thought about hurting an Indian or being mad at an Indian. I just knew what it meant,
Exactly.
Like, I know it's a bad derogatory term, whatever. We didn't know that then.
Because
back
then it wasn't. It only became a derogatory because society said it's derogatory now. That's like the Redskins or the Commanders now because God forbid you can't have a team named after an Indian.
But
chief.
you can have the fucking Braves and the Chiefs.
Exactly.
You fucking morons. Yeah, get me going on that one.
I know. Another day. We've talked about that before.
Fucking morons.
Yeah, it's insane, man.
Do you not see the lunacy in how you look around? I guess that's a better thing. Don't go back to that subject. Just look around.
Yeah. Yep.
The world is fucking full of lunatics.
Yep. It is.
And you have to open your mind and have some common sense. Right. Common sense is just gone.
Well, I agree.
To your point. Mm-hmm. You could not make Seinfeld today. People would lose their mind. Imagine if they tried to make All in the Family.
Oh, my God. Oh, no way.
The Jeffersons.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't even make the Jeffersons.
You couldn't make any of those. And back then it was groundbreaking because you had the interracial
It's still
couples.
fucking hilarious.
Right.
Those shows still hold up. They're hilarious.
Married with Children. You couldn't do Married with Children now.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Still.
There's no way. There's no way. Well.
No, you could not. You're right. 1,000,000% no.
No, people would just censorship. But you can say goddamn on TV now. You can say fuck on TV now. You can say shit on TV now. But God forbid, you do the stuff that all those shows did back then. Because
but you know what's funny?
It hurts everybody's feelings.
Here's a hilarious. You want to talk about how much I read into society and how fucking stupid people are because that's all I've had time to do my whole life other than play music.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that everybody wants to do no matter what they identify with? Everybody wants to be loved, and to be loved leads to having sex, right?
Right.
We all want to have sex. What is the biggest thing? A lot of people don't know this. For you Puritan people out there, you would have no internet and you wouldn't be listening to the Chris and Mike show if it wasn't for pornography, because that is the biggest moneymaker on the internet still to this day.
Oh, yeah.
It might be number 2 now. I'm not sure.
The industry alone.
You would not have the internet without pornography. It literally kept the whole thing alive from the influx to what we're doing now.
Yeah. And it's
because as human, I'm not even saying that's a good thing. I'm saying as human beings, the one thing we all have in common is whether you want to talk about it or not, we all want to have sex. This is leading somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
You can watch people 24 hours a day murder fucking people, chop their heads off, stab, kill, blow up. You know, 1 million people died in that fucking building they just blew up, but it's just television, right? You can watch all that. You can watch all the violence you want all day long, 24 hours a day. But if you show a dick or a vagina on television, you can't do that.
Nope.
Can't show sex. Can't show a loving couple having sex in a movie.
Nope. You can in a movie, but it changes the rating.
Agree. I'm just saying. That's how warped we are. You can look at violence constantly. But if you try and show what they would consider pornography on television, people will lose their fucking minds to this day in 2024. It fascinates me.
Yeah, and I think it's different. I think
that's how my brain works.
Yeah, no, but I agree with that. But I think it's different too overseas. I think overseas they look at violence as a no-no, and look at the sex part and the love part as it's
completely. They're not fucking prudes.
Right. It's in the forefront of everything. So they'll rate you R because of the violence, where we'll rate you R because of the sex. And it's not.
It's completely correct.
Right. And it's not just the porn online. It's the sex industry in general.
I'm not even talking about porn.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Just in general online.
Say you and Say you and I are writing a movie, and the couple gets to the point where something horrible happened, and they go home, and the obvious thing that would happen is, oh my God, I can't believe we lived through that. We're gonna have sex.
Right.
You can't even show like the dude, actually loving his wife without having a sheet over the top of him.
Right.
Or what, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Which, let's be honest, boys and girls, nobody has sex with a sheet over them.
But
it gets in the
right
way.
after, here's my scenario. This is how crazy we are, because this will happen. Our character, our main guy, has a sheet over him, and he's doing the nasty with his wife, and they're going crazy, and all of a sudden he starts stabbing her to death, and we can show that part, right?
Right.
We can show him stab her as many times and then slice her throat, and blood spurts out, and her fucking head pops off, and
Yep, that's how Friday the 13th got away with it. Right? It's Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th, right? What are they doing? Campers are leaving the little zone. They're going into the huts or the cabins with nobody there, starting, to have have the sexual innuendos, and while they're having the sexual innuendos, Jason kills them.
Absolutely.
Because Jason died while camp counselors were having sex. So that's how they got away with that. They started to engage in sexual activity, and then Jason killed them. So, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. We're going to bring you to the edge of ecstasy, and then we're going to kill you. And that gets...
It just fascinates me.
Right, and that got
to no end.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy.
I just don't understand some people's logic,
I don't know. It's society, man.
Well, when you went to the bathroom, our little interlude was mostly about how if we're adults, we should be able to do whatever the fuck we want, right? You should be able to do whatever you want, and I should be able to do whatever I want, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, right?
Right.
If I'm over here doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm not hurting you, and you don't even know about it, but you find out about it, and all of a sudden you're concerned about what I'm doing, those are the topics that just blow my mind. Why do you fucking care?
Right.
There's a lot. I know we were talking about people censoring people, which I am 100% against, but I'm also 100% against somebody who calls themselves, let's say, a Christian conservative, where they're like, you can't have an abortion, and you can't smoke pot, and you can't be a hooker, and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I never told you couldn't go be a Christian conservative and love the Lord and go to church 7 times a week.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I hope that makes you happy. I really do.
Yeah.
That's the difference between me and that person.
Absolutely.
And that's the point that people miss when a lot of times I don't explain myself very well because I don't have the time or the energy. Mostly it's the energy.
Right.
But I get confused for somebody who either doesn't care or is very flippant about life, but I'm not.
No.
Other people are.
Yep.
And I don't want to argue with you. You know, if that makes you happy, that makes you happy. But you're not going to impose your values on me.
Agreed.
No matter what they are. I don't care if you worship Pete Rose. Maybe he was your idol. Now he's in heaven and he's the savior.
Right.
I'm not going to agree with that. But you're welcome to.
Yeah.
And I'll love you just the same. You know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because I don't give a fuck what you do. I have my own life to control. More people need to have that attitude. That's what I want to get out of this whole message.
I agree. As long as you're not killing somebody, hurting yourself, then, you know, by all means, it's your right to do what you want.
Right. And maybe you need a hobby.
Yeah.
If your hobby is paying attention to me, you really need a hobby.
Or if your hobby is monitoring a Seinfeld page, which is built around the antics of the Seinfeld show itself, fucking move along.
You really need a hobby.
Fucking move along.
Yes.
That shit drives me nuts when people do so many. They're so anti anything when you post. Like, there's Facebook pages I'll try to post on for real estate stuff, and then it has to be admin approved. I'm like, this is a show, or this is a page about this city, and legit you're going to silence that I want to share this listing. I don't spam them. I don't do fucking 20 things a day, but when I list something, I try to go into the cities in which the house is listed for sale, and I share it.
Seems sensible.
Right. But yeah, there's some assholes that just they won't share it. And they're run by realtors. Realtors are petty by nature. I'm not, and I'm the exception of that rule. But they're petty. So, I can't let that go through because he's my competition. Fuck you. They can Google it, man. They can go on Google when they drive by my house and punch the address in and see it. All I'm doing is sharing the information in a link. It's like, come on. I don't even do links. I just share 4 or 5 pictures and give a paragraph of what's what.
Well, it's like when you and I started the Facebook page and I was trying to get us out into groups, and I told you about that dickhead who was running a podcast,
right,
support page or whatever, and all I did was make a comment on something, and he private messaged me, and he was like, spamming will not be allowed, and you should not be here trying to get guests for your podcast. Or I'm like, dude, I wasn't trying to do any of that. I was answering the guy's question, and all of a sudden you attack me as being, well, you're just out there trying to get followers. Well, yeah, that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
But that's not, I wasn't spamming you. I was actually answering somebody's question.
Right.
Then I, removed ourselves from that group because I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Yeah, because,
But in your case, you're trying to do business.
Yeah, and it's not hurting anybody. It's just like, hey, here it is. But people
it's
just
a fucking post on a website.
It's gonna go nowhere. It's gonna be irrelevant in 4 hours because somebody who will post on top of that it just goes away. It just doesn't make sense to me. But what are you gonna do?
I've actually responded to people in private messages and said, I am so sorry that the bane of your existence is this Facebook page.
Right.
And left it at that.
Yeah.
You don't ever get a response to that one.
No, because what are they going to say?
Like, this is one tiny slice of my fucking day.
Right.
Yep.
Tiny little piece of the pie. 24 hours in a day. This is going to take 30 seconds of your life. You don't like it, don't worry about it, because in 30 seconds, 2 other people are going to post on top of me, and it's going to start going down the page, down the page, down
exactly.
the page, down the page. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, let's wrap this puppy up. I know it's late for you. I got to pee again. We got to get ready for dinner. We're going to have little man over to play for a little while because we were gone for so long.
Awesome. Well.
And hey, kudos to you to having fiber optic streaming networking that it was flawless today. And then the guy that has the Starlink, it collapsed, It's
amazing. Yeah, well, yeah. We went through 40 some episodes of Starlink and you didn't have any problems, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just happy to. It not only changed the speed. Yeah. I know you gotta go to the bathroom, and I won't make this long.
It's all good.
It not only changed the speed, dude, but like my audio is more able to be controlled.
That's
and
cool.
The internet had so much to do with how I was not able to control like the sound of the mic and
Right.
I don't think we ever discussed that, but it was a battle for me to even not be peaking all the time, and
Right.
it's amazing. I'm super happy with it. So
and it's cool. There was no delay at all today. I mean, everything was. You're not fuzzy. I'm not fuzzy. Neither one of us are fuzzy. We used to be.
No,
always
that's
fuzzy.
super
Yeah.
cool too.
Yeah. I can actually
Just
see.
to be able to answer your question,
Right.
and we can kind of talk on top of each other now because we know what we're doing at this point, right?
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to talk on top. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Absolutely.
We can interject
Yep.
with the right timing is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
People didn't realize I didn't have a delay, so I could start to answer his question right after he asked it, but I couldn't get it to him for 2 seconds, no matter how hard we tried.
Right.
So we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, none.
I hope this was a much more enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
And
I enjoyed it more.
before we leave, I'm going to leave you with, I was not trying to be a dick when we started. I had a shit day for everybody that's out there. I liked your idea. It just doesn't work with my timing right now,
it's all
and
good.
we'll make it happen.
Right. No worries, dude. That's why we do this. It's collective.
know.
It's a collective effort. I didn't take it any other way. Like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I don't change my clocks. You do. To me, it's 4:30. So you what? It's 7:30.
No, it's 6:30 right now.
But still, you had
We're
a 10
2
hour,
hours difference.
Yeah, but you still had a 10-hour day. So
it's all good.
I
just didn't want to do 2 1 hours in a row because that would have put me over what I considered my time limit for.
No, you're good, bro. You're absolutely good.
I totally enjoyed this one more than I have enjoyed any one after it's all said and done, for the simple fact that this is how I wanted to do the podcast from the beginning, where you and I can talk like we did when we were sitting after band practice or before band practice, and we talked about life and the world and fucking,
all the things.
Without a 2-second delay.
Right, all the things.
You have no idea how bad that 2-second delay fucked up my whole
I'm sorry.
plan.
But now we're good.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I didn't ever anticipate that.
I know. It's all good, man.
Go to the bathroom.
I will. See you later, boys and girls. See you next week.
Don't let the bad days win.
Exactly.
For episode number 48.
He's Chris. I'm Mike. Or no, I'm Mike. He's Chris. Wait a minute. What? I went to Canada, eh?
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.
You too.